Sometimes life just goes in there and it rips you apart. Takes some of the good things you have and sets it off to the side, says, hey, you're not gonna do this anymore. This routine that you have, these people that you know, these activities that you do, you're not gonna have that anymore. And it takes a while to adjust, doesn't it? Sometimes you have to go through big life-altering moments where you decide, okay, what is it that I really want? Who is it that I really am? Sometimes the existentialism gets to you, and sometimes it ends up hurting. For the Calgary Flames hockey team, you might be able to say this is what they're going through. And I know I'm being dramatic, but it's for the sake of making a good narrative and making a somewhat entertaining YouTube video, that in which I still debate as to whether or not I'm capable of doing, but today I wanted to talk about the Calgary Flames living in a post-Johnny Gaudreau, post-Matthew Tkachuk world. Because sure, even though we all kind of said the same thing, hey, even though losing out on Gaudreau, losing out on Tkachuk, that's a bad thing, you got Nazem Kadri, he's pretty good. You got Jonathan Huberdeau, you got Mackenzie Weegar. This is a team that you could debate has gotten better from last season, even though they lost out on a 115-point guy in Johnny Gaudreau, even though they lost out on another 100-point scorer in Matthew Tkachuk. You lost out on Sean Monahan as well, meaning that you had Tkachuk, Gaudreau, and Monahan all leave your team in the same offseason. Like, if you told a Calgary Flames fan that back in 2015 when these guys were all making their debut, which was only 7 years ago, by the way, you said, hey, in 2022, you would lose out on Gaudreau, Tkachuk, and Monahan. They would have been freaking out if you told them that. Wait, really? Why? Did we at least win a Stanley Cup before then? Please tell me we won a cup. And it's nuts, because in an offseason where you lost out on these three guys, of course Monahan was not as great with the Flames last season as he is now with Montreal, nor is he a shade of what he was back when he was getting over a point per game, but still, you lose out on all these guys. And you had an offseason wherein you actually look a little bit better than when you started. Huberdeau, Weegar, Kadri, all the guys that you had gotten, it's very nice, and unfortunately, even though the Calgary Flames had this really good offseason, they're in the dumps right now. Okay, maybe not the dumps, but they're kind of trending in that direction, and it's been getting worse and worse every passing week. Right now in the NHL standings, if you take a look at how things are assembled, the Calgary Flames, for the wildcard race, they're not in the playoffs. They are the third wildcard team right now, tied with the Colorado Avalanche, but they have three more games played. Therefore, Colorado and Edmonton have those wildcard spots. Calgary's not there. And it's kind of interesting because even though this team was one where a lot of people said, yeah, they're a lock. They are a lock to make the playoffs with Huberdeau, with Kadri, with, of course, you still have Lindholm, you have everybody else that was effective on this team last year doing their thing this year. It's been a very strange tale of Daryl Sutter coaching and the inability to recall younger players. Matthew Phillips barely got himself an opportunity, and the offense has started to dry up. Jacob Markstrom is not as consistent as he has once been. Sure, he has amazing games once in a while, but still, the offense in front of him is not getting it done. The Calgary Flames, at the time of recording this audio, do not have a point-per-game player. Elias Lindholm leads the team in scoring. He's got 25 points in 30 games played. Last year, that guy had 82 points and 40 goals. Right now, Lindholm is on pace for 25 goals, which is a pretty steep decline. Nazem Kadri was scoring at a 100-point pace last year with the Avalanche. He is not doing that this year. Tyler Toffoli, he's doing pretty well. He's got 21 points, 31 games played, but still, the ones that are supposed to be really carrying this load, aka Jonathan Huberdeau, that guy's 6th overall in points. We already made a video talking about Jonathan Huberdeau and whether or not he's been kind of mid this season, and I know mid is a very colloquial, kind of Gen Z-ish term to be using, but I think it's a pretty accurate way of assessing how things have gone so far. Being a part of the Florida Panthers organization for so long and then going over to a new system, you are supposed to be the number one guy. Some people are just not able to transition into that in the most seamless way possible. This is an article that I wanted to show you here on the channel. It's about the Calgary Flames, goes over their loss of offense so far. The wincolumn.ca, written by James Johnson, published earlier today, actually. I'll go out there and leave a link in the description. Big shout out to James. He does really good stuff with Audie James as well, which is kind of interesting, noting that they both have similar names now that I really think about it. But either way, the Calgary Flames are having major issues with their offensive generation. Put in this article are a few charts, a few interesting statistical outliers as to where the Calgary Flames rank in terms of their NHL offensive production. And starting out, there's a tweet made by Tony Wallach that goes out there and articulates how the Calgary Flames are a bottom 3 team in the NHL in terms of average 5v5 shot quality. Take a look at this. The top 5 teams in the league go Tampa Bay, San Jose, Toronto, Nashville, and Dallas. Bottom 5, Philadelphia, Colorado, which is very intriguing, but then again, probably not surprising since they're missing half their team. Calgary, Anaheim, and Arizona. The Calgary Flames are one of the worst teams in the NHL when it comes to expected goals for per shot, with a rating of just under .08, meaning that in order to get themselves a goal, the Calgary Flames have to do, 1 divided by .08, they have to take about 12.5 shots to get a goal. And that doesn't seem too bad, right? I mean, 12.5, 13 shots, and then you score a goal, get another 13 shots, then you score another goal. If you try to map that out, in order for the Flames to be getting 3 goals in a game, they need to get around 39 shots per game, and that's really not sustainable. Compare that with the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are first in this list. They have a shooting expected goals for per shot rating of about .095. So if you do the entire mathematical situation there, okay, 1 divided by .095, multiply this out, and the Tampa Bay Lightning score about every 10.5 shots, in comparison to Calgary's 12.5. Now, that's not too big of a difference, but all the other teams in the NHL are somewhere within this radius, and the Flames just happen to be on the bottom end. The Flames are also ranked as boring in terms of their expected goals generation. This was on MoneyPuck.com. You could see that the chart of expected goals against versus the score-adjusted expected goals for, the Calgary Flames are in the boring bottom quarter of the graph. It's unfortunate, but you're seeing that they're a team that doesn't really give up too many expected goals against in comparison to the rest of the competition, so there you go, Jacob Markstrom. Maybe you still got it, maybe you don't really suck at hockey after all, but their expected goals for is not all too great, in that it's just barely getting over that 2.5 line. You take a look at other teams in the NHL, what this essentially means is that if you're in the top right, you're allowing a lot of goals, but you're also scoring a lot of goals. It's fun hockey, but it's not really sustainable. If you're in the bottom right, then that is the absolute best because you are allowing few goals and you are scoring a ton. But, of course, being in the top left is really bad, and the higher you are, like Anaheim, for example, the absolute worse your defensive situation is, and they're not scoring too many goals either, so it doesn't really make up for that. There are a few more things that James writes about in this article, and he actually has a really good summary and analysis of all the charts that he includes, so please go out there and click the link in the description if you are curious. But Calgary, man, they're in a really weird spot. It's odd to me that they're this bad in terms of offensive generation when you have the players that you have. People are going out there and blaming Daryl Sutter. Oh, it's the 40 shots a game, but they're all going into the crest type of mentality. It's not finding the right plays, not making the right reads, etc., etc. But I want you to tell me in the comments, what has it been with the Calgary Flames that makes them so frustrating to watch? Why Audie James going over onto Steve Dangle's Game Over Calgary is so enraged every time he gets that opportunity? Why this team, despite the fact that they have such a talented cast of point producers, they still don't have anybody who's a point per game? You're relying too much on a guy like Jacob Markstrom, who has been inconsistent too, and now you have a team that is barely outside the wild card. That's kind of nuts, isn't it? So, talk to the comments your thoughts about the Calgary Flames. I hope you enjoyed this Juraj 99, and bye.